Currently, I'm living and working in Richmond, Virginia. It's not the biggest or busiest city, but it's a nice size and has just enough going on to make it worth sticking around for a few years. Because of my time as a photojournalist for a local news station, I felt like I had been almost everywhere that you could want or not want to go in this city. I covered festivals, murders, trials, hostage situations, politics, and much more. Covering a wide array of events exposed me to parts of the city I wouldn't have known existed otherwise. Then I started to shoot street photography. I had always liked this style of photography, and it never occurred to me to get into it myself until I got my hands on this. This is a Canon AE-1, a 35mm film SLR camera, and this camera gave me the extra push I needed to go out and explore the city I thought I already knew even further. I had no interest in shooting or posing models, but what I did have an interest and experience in was shooting spontaneous, uncontrolled action. Shooting street photography almost felt like coming home for me. It reminded me of my time as a photojournalist and shooting B-roll of scenes and locations. Many photogs don't like shooting B-roll, but for some reason I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process of trying to blend into a scene and become an observer trying to capture the naturally occurring events. The time I spend roaming the city also helps me reset mentally. I've really grown to treasure the time I set aside to wander with no real goal or objective other than taking photos. I've gotten to a place where I've accepted that not every outing is going to yield a fantastic picture, and that's perfectly okay. What's important is that I went out and worked on my craft, and as a side effect I also worked on myself. I did end up having an interesting interaction during this particular outing though. It was a good lesson and reminder of some rules I try to stick to when I'm shooting street photography. Don't insert yourself into a scene. After you've taken a photo or two, just move on and keep walking. I was walking through the museum district and I saw some giant Confederate flags in the distance. As I got closer, I could see that they were Trump supporters set up in front of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. They weren't protesting anything as far as I could tell. They had a couple of Confederate flags and some Make America Great flags as well. I decided to take some photos of what was going on, and as I started to get closer, I saw that someone was arguing with two of the men holding Confederate flags. I got close enough to hear, and someone had decided to debate these Trump supporters about what Jesus really meant by loving everyone, and how could they justify their Christian beliefs with their support for Trump. This is where my mistake began. I did get in closer to get some better photographs, but as I got closer, I started to listen to their conversation more, and I started to actually get interested in what they were talking about myself. This caused me to stick around and stay a little bit longer than I should have. I was there long enough for the man arguing with the Trump supporters to finally turn his attention to me and ask why I was taking photographs, and he demanded to know what publication I worked for. I've cropped the man out of this picture because he got pretty upset, and I don't think he believed me when I said I didn't work for a publication or news outlet, and that I was just taking pictures for the art of it. This is where we get into a morally gray area when it comes to street photography. Working in the news world gave me a good handle on what I could and couldn't do when it came to shooting photos or video. And I knew I had every right to take a photo of this guy who was standing on a public sidewalk and arguing with what could be considered protesters who were attracting a lot of attention to themselves. I went back and forth a few times about whether I would post the picture showing him or not, but ultimately I decided against it. What really bothers me about this situation is it could have been avoided completely. I could have taken my 2 or 3 pictures and just kept on walking, but I got caught up in what was going on and stuck around just long enough to disrupt the scene and then even become a part of it myself. And this is just an aside, but the gentleman holding the Confederate flags had no issue with me taking their photographs. I actually got even closer to them to take some pictures, and they didn't say one word to me. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'm going to try to experiment a little bit with the format of these videos. I'd really like to try shooting some more footage while I'm out taking pictures to try and create a more immersive and interactive final product. Even though I love shooting film photography, I still like shooting video as well. And I'm going to try to put more of an effort towards combining the two. Thanks. See you next time.